You actually converted?
Yeah, I converted.
Toto Wolff was at the wedding. What was he like on the dance floor?
He goes pretty hard.
And what percentage of your meet cute happened with your dad?
Yeah, well, I'm here on this shitty podcast. It's been fun being a little F1 spy for you guys. So I'm going to be killed after this podcast.
What's up, Vanka?
Hello, Venger!
How is everybody doing?
Dude, how are you doing? I'm doing good today, Matt.
Feeling really good.
I'm doing good, dude, because today on the pod, listen, we've talked to some F1 drivers. It's like, it's fun, it's awesome, it's great. But then there's the whole world around Formula One, right?
Yes.
There's the whole culture around Formula One. And today we have literally like a spy.
9 million degrees,
Yes.
like 9 million bonds, like 1 degree of Kevin Bacon connections with everything Formula One.
Yeah, and listen, he is a very accomplished man in his own right. He's got, gold medals. He's been in the Olympics. He's a very accomplished, snowboarder. Look him up. That's all great. But more importantly, he's Lawrence Stroll's son-in-law, dude. Come on, we have Scotty James on the podcast.
I mean, we are in the US. So I was trying to pinpoint the accents there for a little bit. I liked it.
Yeah.
Great to be here.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're bringing very LA energy. So
Yeah. We're from New York.
Yeah.
We bring a loud, brash New York.
I love it.
Sports radio energy to this world, but. Yeah, we're so excited to have you on the pod.
So we're gonna get
a spy. I've never been called a spy before, but I'll take it.
You are. You're you're
it.
right in the
You're right in the heart
in
of
the
it.
thick of it.
You're right in the thick of it.
He's
Right in the thick of it.
Edward Snowden, dude. I mean, come on, dude. Yeah, and I mean, there's so many places to start. Listen, we're not here to spiders,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, that's fair.
Trying to appeal.
Yeah.
Let's not mess around.
Where should we start?
Well, we want to first start with how you met the love of your life,
Okay.
Daniel Ricciardo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's start there.
How did you meet the love of your life, Daniel?
Actually, you know what? It all started.
Really?
As it always
As
does.
it always does.
Yeah. We went to a lovely lunch at
Wait, you didn't just meet.
It was just
who
like
introduced you?
we just were like, we get along. We'll see you at that location.
Yeah.
We don't have to talk. We just were
just an
ESP,
Australian mind meld.
Yeah. No, so I was actually training at the Red Bull High Performance Center. He was driving for Red Bull at the time, and I was in town, and we actually had a mutual coach at the time.
I see.
And then he was there, I was there, and we connected. We got some lunch, and here we are. Groomsmen at our wedding.
What was the moment? Because our producer Jenny wants to know. What was the moment where you had that stepbrothers moment where you were like, "Are we best friends?
Did we just become best friends?
Yeah. What was that moment?
Probably the moment when we realized that we're both just as much idiots as each other, really.
Right.
So, that was the big moment, and there was many occasions that we had that epiphany.
Mhm.
So I would say it was a drip feed over time
Okay.
of having those moments. But we to be honest, like obviously being two Aussies from traveling around, being in sports that wasn't like very conventional, it's pretty outside the box, like a snowboarder and F1 driver.
Yeah.
Mhm.
We could relate on a lot of different topics, just being away, traveling, family, the whole bit, and we kind of just hit it off and became good mates from there.
What year was this? When was this? When did this all begin?
I want to say 2016.
Okay.
Something like that. So it's been a minute.
I have to ask, I know you say you're both Australian, but I remember I was on my way to the Indy 500 and I was sitting next to an Australian guy who was like a big Indy 500 fan. And I was asking about F1 and he wasn't that into it. And I said, what about Daniel Ricciardo? And he goes, he's from fucking Perth. Like there was this absolute disgust with Perth. Can you explain? I've talked to people and when Daniel Ricciardo comes up, there's people who don't follow F1. They're they'll look him up and they go, Perth. Like, can you explain?
So you're from Melbourne.
I'm
which is
Melbourne.
Like more of
Right.
a normal person place.
Yeah, more. We have 10 fingers and 10 toes.
Can you explain what's the rap on Perth?
People in Perth and they're on the 12 or 11.
Yeah.
No, I think there's like, it's funny because people from Sydney will give Melbourne people shit.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And vice versa.
Yeah.
And then Brisbane. So you have like Brisbane, Sydney, Melbourne. And then we don't really talk about Perth often.
Right. Yeah, it's like you're not even on our radar.
So they're very, very far out there,
Yeah.
but beautiful place. It's a good little setup. But yeah, that's the best way to sum it up. We just create this like rivalry for no reason between states.
Okay. So there's no like, what's a stereotypical Perthian?
You'll notice you can pick out a Perthian when they say use.
Okay.
So they'll go like I'd say, how are you doing?
Yeah.
Or you'd say, how you doing?
Right.
They'd say, oh, how you's going?
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's one. So it's YOUS.
Right.
Use is I've noticed a big Perthian
Gotcha.
speech.
Yeah, speech. You know, I went to college in Pittsburgh, and in Pittsburgh they say yins. Like, what are yins guys doing?
Yins guys.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's called like yin. There's like, and at certain bars there'll be like the Yinzarita, which is like a Corona stuck into a into a margarita, and it's called the Yinzarita. And I'm like,
Yinzarita.
it really should be a
What would be a user-reader?
a Yinzarita. Yeah, I don't know what's. I mean, I feel like Australia's a big like drinking country,
Like
right?
a VB and a Jaeger bomb? I don't know.
Yeah,
It's like, but it's not what you think it was because like nobody drinks Fosters in Australia. Like,
yeah, there's that stigma that Australians drink Fosters, but it's actually very much like Carlton Draft, Vic Bitter, Melbourne Bitter,
okay,
some craft beers, but they're like your staples.
right.
VB was a very prominent Australian.
and
Well, so it starts since you meet Daniel in 2016. Were you at all, was Formula One on your radar? Like, what was your impression of Formula One before you met Daniel?
I always liked it. My dad is actually a bit of a rev head, so when I was a kid, I'm surprised I didn't end up in like motocross. So my dad loved motocross. He raced 250cc's like on track, and I always really liked it. So we always naturally were. I was always very much like in that motorsport, not specifically car racing.
Yeah.
And Daniel and I, in fairness, actually share that as in common. Like we love motocross, like
Right,
we both
yeah.
obsess over it. So whenever we get time, we go and ride. But yeah. So then started following F1. Yeah, I would say because DR and obviously Webber and like there was always that Australian presence a little bit, and then definitely more prominently once like we became close, probably because I just wanted to understand it a bit more.
Yeah.
So I'd say as of like first F1 I went to, I was in 2010. I was 15.
Okay.
I went with my dad and then
To Melbourne, I'm assuming.
to Melbourne.
Yeah.
And that was actually a moment where we did meet and we both had braces on. So it wasn't
You and
you
and Ricciardo.
He was driving.
Yeah, because we've seen
He had braces.
Yeah.
because them teeth were wild.
The glow up was real.
The glow up was real. Them teeth really did a lot of,
The smile's doing wonders these
Yeah.
days. And he was driving for Toro Rosso, and I have a funny photo. I was 15. He would have been, I guess late 18 or 19.
Yeah.
Like that. And then that was just like in passing. 'Cause
Right.
We were both there with like Red Bull or whatever.
Yeah.
And then however many years later, we actually connected. But yeah, since then, I'm in the mix, even maybe a little more than I'd ever anticipated.
Yeah, well, because it's like there's you meeting Danny, then are you kind of like palling around the F1 world, like because then this has now become you are surrounded by it.
Yes.
So
step two is Lance. Is step two?
Yeah.
How did you meet Lance?
So funny story. First time I met Lance was at the Melbourne Grand Prix,
Okay.
and it was just before either race or quali, can't quite remember. And I was taking a piss at the urinal. This is true story.
Yeah.
Taking a piss at the urinal, And I was obviously at that point had followed Formula One, so I knew who Lance was.
Right.
And he kind of like walked in from the garage and stood next to me at the same urinal and, taking a piss. And I kind of looked at it, I was like, oh, fuck, that's Lance. Like, I knew at the time, I think he was racing for, can't remember, it was either Williams or maybe
Force India.
Force India. Yeah.
And he kind of looked at me and I was like, we looked at each other and he was like, oh, Scotty James. And I was like, I was like, no way. I was like, oh, nice to meet you. And he's a big, Lance loves skiing and snowboarding.
Yeah. Right. Yes. We're going to get into that. Don't worry.
Yeah. So he and I hit it off. We started talking about snowboarding and just connected.
And what percentage of your meet cute happened with your dicks out?
I would say I was probably 65% emptied the tank. He was obviously starting at 100. So there was an awkward, kind
like
of
you were done
there. I was like,
so when you were
should I stop when you were be like, see ya, or
were you just like dick in hand empty, just not wanting to be rude?
Well, it was awkward because it was a cubicle where like you could see me if I was pissing or not. It was like a titanium silver wall where you could stand there and like you could tell if you weren't going or not. It wasn't a cubicle where
there's no dividers.
There was no divider.
Oh, okay.
So I had to pack it up.
Right.
Right, because if I make a really important contact, I'm going to pretend that I'm peeing forever. Yeah. I just had a gallon of water. I'm doing 75 hard, whatever the fuck. I'll just pee all day.
So
you're just standing next to the urinal while he pees. Mm-hmm. That's almost more awkward than both dicks out.
That's true. It is
because you just have your hands by your side, but just next to the urinal.
Whatever the case was, I'm now married to his sister.
Right, so it could have gone that bad. It could have gone that bad.
Yeah.
Right.
No, but that was a funny story. And every year now at the Melbourne Grand Prix, we have a joke. We're like, should we go for our annual piss?
Right.
So that's pretty funny.
So every time we see Lance, he seems like he's at his happiest place. Because when you see him in the paddock or in the garage, he seems serious. But when he seems so happy, like on Instagram or on Drive to Survive, when he's snowboarding, when he's doing, we got to ask a professional snowboarder, how is he on
the board?
Yeah,
we actually haven't I've actually never been snowboarding with him.
What?
Actually. No, never.
Interesting.
We got to get out. Every time he's usually out snowboarding is when I'm like in season.
Right.
So it's tough for me to go.
Like when he does it for fun, you're doing it professionally.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Yeah, that checks out.
But yeah, I mean, he gets pure joy out of it, same as I do when I snowboard. So yeah, it's cool that we share that in common, and we always talk about snowboarding a lot.
Does he ever ask you for advice?
He's rang me like randomly a couple times, like when he's been at a shop and he's like asking me which board to get or a pair of boots. But nothing where it's like, I'm about to do this. How should I go off this at which angle? Because I'd probably actually say, well, let's just not go there.
Yeah, let's just not do it at all. Well, it seems like he likes to do like the back mount. He does like a lot of like backcountry stuff. Yeah. Does he have like a desire to kind of like,
transition?
Yeah.
He's like, how do you triple corkscrew? And you're like, no.
You're like, dude, you fell off a bike and broke both your wrists. I'm not telling you how to fucking do the half pipe.
No, I think, he likes the backcountry stuff.
Yeah.
So like more free riding, like big mountain.
Yeah.
As I'm obviously in the half pipe.
But in your free time, like if you're just like going to a mountain for pleasure, do you like the backcountry or do you 100%. Like kind of more of the slopes?
Yeah, I really enjoy it. So in the case I could go and like do the kind of riding he does and have a great time.
Yeah.
Like I think that's what I love about snowboarding. It's obviously my full-time job, but I'm able to also go and do it with friends and like share it with my family and stuff, which is pretty unique, I think, in the sense of sport.
Yeah, and what's a common misconception about him? Like, what's something about Lance that people don't know that you'd like people to know about him?
It's a good question.
Yeah,
funny guy.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he is. We get along really well, and I think the show, like specifically Drive to Survive. He's got a good sense of humor. He's happy-go-lucky when he needs to be, which is important as a sports person. But I think the show very much depicts him as like being serious, like 100% of the time.
Well, you saw the first episode of season 6, the Stroll episode.
Mm.
You said that they missed some stuff. What do you think they missed that you want to get into?
For me,
that you're willing to get into.
Oh gosh, I'm gonna be assassinated. Someone's coming after me after this. Nah, probably that. Like, I just think that, I guess what like him, but I mean, I get it for him because even for him, but all the drivers, like, you got to protect yourself because nowadays there's nowhere to hide. Like, people will rip you apart for anything. And like, when you're competing at that high level and you're doing a sport that's super dangerous, like, as much as you can be in the moment and present and like focus on the driving, I have a lot of empathy for them because I think sometimes, shit happens and you kind of are told to react a certain way, which might not be the way that you want to.
Right.
So I think in the case of him, I'm like, and even some of the other drivers, like, you might not always see the full character because it's not that they're not wanting to be their own person. It's almost like they protect themselves from what could happen in the case that people want to communicate or talk about it.
Right.
Like this.
Like sure.
So, yeah. But I wouldn't say they missed anything. I mean, you saw who's now my father-in-law. He's an intense guy. Like, he's intense. He wants to win and he's no bullshit. And he'll like do anything to win.
Yeah.
Like, and I think that episode really portrayed that quite well. And I can resonate with him there. Like, I think it's, the end of the day, it's you can have a lot of friends within the industry, but at the end of the day, you all want to win.
Right.
And he's like very much on that winning side. So,
but you don't have to always be that intent. Like, I mean, like, wouldn't you say that? Like, I mean, you're obviously like, you can be a nice, affable guy and also be a psycho, right? At the same time.
Yeah, I feel like what's interesting is
got
like,
a pretty good 50-50 psycho, and then can get along with most people.
Yeah, I think you and Daniel actually are like unique maybe in that way because it's like you both there are similarities. Like, you both do these dangerous sports where you have to be like 100% focused when you're doing it. But then even like when I've watched, like you like in the X Games and stuff, there you have like you can have like a bit of like a lightness to you as well.
Yeah,
there's kind of the like,
it's not an either or.
Oh, like, but I feel like there's a lot of competitors kind of are like just 100% one thing the whole time. But you and Daniel actually, I feel like, are two people that immediately come to mind who can have that kind of ease whilst doing something like that.
Yeah, I think, I mean, he's, for me, like, as a character, generally, like, as a sports person, he kind of embodies, like, the most lovable kind of competitive character that he's kind of like, DR would be someone that you look at and go, like, if I was a sports person, you'd want to kind of emulate, really, because he's able to switch between, in that moment, headphones on, like, I'm racing a car, 300 Ks, to then coming out of the car, having a relationship, with people in either around the track or on the grid, or, being able to we FaceTime and have a laugh and just like dick around.
The compartmentalization, even like when he's in because like in this season of Drive to Survive, you get so many examples of drivers being like, they're in the radios in their ears and like, shut the fuck up, like leave me alone, fuck off. And then there was one, you haven't gotten there yet, but there's one moment where someone says something to him when he's like freshly back, and he goes, I'd be happy with radio silence. Like, he's just so fucking polite. Like, that's the meanest he'll ever get on the radio. It's like funny. Understood, or like, I'd be happy with radio silence. That would thrill me. You know what I mean? Like, it's just like amazing how composed he can.
I think some people, like, even outside of F1, some people can, and I work on it. Like, some people can distinguish between being a savage competitor and like having those characteristics to be able to do that, and then be able to switch it off like a light, and then some are just in it like full time. And I would say it's actually, I don't think there's a right or a wrong way. Like, I think if it works for you and you're successful, then I think that's the way you got to do it.
Right.
I think there's also like, people will get very scrutinized as well when they aren't what, people think they should be. And
Yeah,
I'm like,
sure,
but
sure.
then everything would be fucking boring because everyone's exactly the same. And like, I like that intensity. I respect that intensity a lot.
I think the biggest, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, from like an outsider's perspective, the biggest commonality that I see between like snowboarding, what you do, and Formula One driving is that like you have to like, it's like about a limit. Like, you could do, maybe 3 flips, but maybe not 4. Like, what's the maximum you can push something without completely fucking destroying yourself?
Yeah.
And like, and there's like, we've talked about this with Charles Leclerc. It's like, you can tell that this guy wants it really bad, but it's like, can you want something too bad?
Yeah.
Where you overdrive like, especially when he's not given
Yeah.
the right equipment, like you can see this guy overdrive the car.
Yeah, you take a corner too fast.
because he's trying to make up for something.
Right.
And it's like, how do you understand like, okay, this is what I'm capable of on a given day, and like go right up to the line, and this is the score I need, that sort of thing. Knowing what especially because when there is no equipment, it's just you out there, knowing what you're capable of, and knowing like getting 100 out of 100 out of yourself without ever overdriving the car that is Scotty James.
Yeah. So my car.
Yeah.
To be clear, I don't actually own one. So
Yeah.
No, but if my car was my snowboard and my life, I guess, around sport, I would say it's sometimes that like just relentless approach to either wanting to win a championship or wanting to win a race or winning the X Games in my case.
Right.
It defines your character. So it consumes every part of you. So you eat it, you sleep, and that's you. And that is, I think that's a point where it becomes unhealthy, because then for me personally, I always perform best when I'm able to, I mean, it's cliche, but people say like when you're happy and you're completely 110% yourself, that's when you're going to live like a very full, happy life. And I truly believe that. Like for me, I've been able to find a very distinct difference between like when to have intensity and when not to, and then also when to let significant moments in my career define my next move or me as my character. Or because sometimes if you let every professional decision and every moment define you as a person, you're going to implode.
Yeah.
And it's really hard to, I mean, I can imagine even for these guys, like they all want to win a championship. I would actually say, honestly, I think F1 is the most unfair sport in the world.
Yeah.
Hands down. Because it's all about resources. It's about money. It's about, and there's probably decades and decades of these 1% talented drivers that will just never win a championship because they might not be in the right team, or they might not, for whatever reason, end up being in that position to win a championship, because every year there's always one team that's better than the other.
Right.
Unless you're on that team, you're not going to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like for me, I guess I'm happy because my results are on me. If I lose, it's on me.
Right.
If I win, it's on me.
Right.
Obviously, I have a great team around me and things like that, but I can take responsibility for everything that's happened.
Right. You've never blamed the board once. You've never been like, it was the board.
Blamed it.
This fucking board.
It's fucking
Error shit.
Yeah.
That's crap. We need the Red Bull rear end.
Yeah.
Although
exactly.
I've got that, so we're good.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of, the competitiveness and locking into that moment, we've heard that you and Daniel are pretty competitive with each other. Probably about.
Yeah, we got an inside scoop.
We got an inside scoop that,
compete.
little competitions here and there, so we had a few questions about like who's, of the two of you, like
smash him every day. Anything.
Name anything.
Anything.
All right. Who's faster on foot?
Me.
Okay. Who's stronger?
Me.
Who's got a stronger neck?
You're gonna think about that?
Which neck?
Yeah.
Are we talking a stem? Yeah, he's got a stem.
Okay, go. Ping pong.
Never played.
Interesting.
Basketball?
Because these guys also too, they're very like they're they're very like good at just like little
Yeah.
things. Like I don't know how to
Little
explain
annoying,
it.
little
Like,
annoying
like
bullshit.
him.
they're like because their reaction timing is great. So I
Yeah,
would
yeah,
say
yeah.
I would put it to him as a challenge for table tennis, but I reckon maybe he.
How are you at table tennis?
I'm actually not bad.
Okay.
Okay.
I
What
go
about,
all
have you
right.
ever played him in basketball?
We've shot hoops before,
Okay.
not like 1-on-1.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because
I-
that would probably end in an
I
injury.
think I would just use my like weight as an advantage just on the defense, you know.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Going nowhere.
Okay.
Yeah.
What about
Yeah,
footy?
tactics. We've kicked the footy a bit. In a game or markers up. We call it markers up in Australia, so it would be like
Okay, now you've lost
Yeah.
us.
Yeah. We know what we
Me.
know footy, but we don't
Me.
know. Yeah. Okay.
Well,
Wait.
Runzi,
What's markers up? I'm curious.
what's markers up?
markers up is like someone will kick the footy into a pack and you just got to mark it. It's
Okay.
pretty straightforward. You know,
Oh,
we
just
keep it simple in
who can
Australia.
catch it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Basically,
Okay.
like, yeah, you mark it and you get, yeah.
Because there are these because I was watching these crazy things where like people like just commonly just leap on each other's backs.
Yeah,
and
that's a specky.
that's like a spectacular mark.
Yeah, I'd
or-
actually specky Daniel pretty well. Yeah, he's perfect height.
Yeah.
that's
Right.
that's the footy equivalent of like dunking on somebody.
Yeah.
Right.
It's just like ultimate
It's like
disrespect.
Posterized.
Fuck you, I
It's
catch
like
the ball.
pride, like,
Yeah.
It doesn't get better.
Yeah.
What about like the dirt biking?
He's good. He's better.
Okay. Okay. Who's got the better smile?
Hmm.
Before or after braces?
So let's go overall. Let's do before
Yeah.
and after.
Lifetime.
Me for sure.
Yeah. Lifetime average is way higher. Okay, then here's the question. Are you a better driver than he is a snowboarder?
Yes.
Yes.
Because we
100%.
and I know what I've heard that you support him so much. You go to all of these events.
yeah.
How many of your snowboarding events has he been to?
Donuts.
Donut.
He hasn't been to one.
Hates the cold. Like hates it.
You think if you were in an event 20 minutes from his house, you think he'd go?
Probably not.
So he hates the cold, right? That's okay. And yet, Enchanté,
Yeah.
there's a whole ski lodge.
That's
Does
You
that
know.
offend you?
Did-
When
are
he
you-
came out with a
offends me
whole
a little bit.
Have you said anything to
two
him?
things offend me.
stolen valor.
Stolen valor, cold weather. You're here. My culture is not your costume, okay, Daniel Ricciardo?
Yeah, I mean, he needs to get out and trial his product. We need to get him in the snow. I
Right.
think it's important. We did a funny skit for his product a couple of years ago, but it was in a studio.
Uh-huh.
Just fake snow. So
It's all
He won't
CGI.
even, he won't even get real snow for the
Yeah.
promo.
we need to get him out there
Yeah,
for sure.
that's great.
But driving, yeah,
You don't even own a car.
nah.
Can you,
Well, here, have you gone go karting with like Lance and him? Have you ever
I
done
go
that?
go-karting. I'm like obsessed by it. I
Yeah.
love it. But no, like for example, we were having my birthday one year, and it was like all the boys. We had like, we have some mutual friends. We're like, yeah, let's go rent out this go-kart track, and
Mhm.
Yeah.
we'll go there at 2.
Yeah.
And he'll be like, oh, what are you guys doing at 2? We're like, oh, we're going go-karting. He's like, oh, I'll see you at the house at like 4. Like, just avoids it.
Interesting.
Because
So one day,
because people are going to want to step to him and show him up.
yeah, I mean, I would though. That's
Right.
why.
Right. Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm not trying to fucking die today,
Yeah.
okay? All you
Someone's
fucking-
going to try to send it on him and he'll get hurt.
We went karting once, and
Oh
I've
my
been
God.
talking a big game about how like in another life I could have been an
Everyone.
F1 driver.
Yeah.
I have that in me, and he's like,
No, because he's always topping the timesheets at whatever rental place we're at.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, these,
and then some 11-year-old beats him, and then he's like, "The weight, though."
Dude,
Yeah,
wait,
no way.
wait, dude,
Yeah.
wait till I'm fucking the right amount of kilos. But anyway, I had been annoying him so much about this that we.
So I just had to beat him,
Okay.
but I just don't have the talent.
Yeah.
Well, he was just like right the beginning's the time to beat him, so he didn't really know the track, and he just slammed into the wall, and his knee blew up like
I
a
had to go to the
grapefruit.
hospital. Yeah.
Well, that's.
Yeah,
No,
yeah.
but like I'm just trying to make a point, and then-
I've had moments where I've been like, even just around Chloe's family, I'm like, I'm really. I think I might buy a go-kart. Like,
yeah,
I'm gonna get into this. Like, what's it like? And her dad goes to me, "You're gonna break a fucking rib." And he's like, "Your snowboarding will be done." And I was like, "All right, then I'll."
Okay, so I want to get into this.
Yes,
All of you
yes.
athletes, who rely on your livelihood is like you preserving your body. Why do you guys go biking and motocrossing and like when Lance was because in the beginning of the episode Drive to Survive actually caught Lance being like, yeah, I'm gonna go biking, light road work and then 1 week later
Cue Metallica music.
Yeah. So it's like, have you guys not heard of a fucking Peloton? Jesus Christ. Why do you guys put yourselves through that kind of risk?
I don't know. I mean, I think it's just the adrenaline.
Yeah.
It's also that it's a bit, generally speaking, for athletes, you can also be a bit naive. Like, that won't happen to me.
Right.
It's all good.
Right. Yeah.
It won't happen. And then it happens and you're like.
How pissed was Lawrence?
How
pissed was Dad? How pissed was Dad?
Because here's the thing, on the show, he's like, and then in that moment, you become a father, and certainly that's in there. He's like, you got to remember, I'm Dad.
I'm sure he was worried about his son, but when you hear your son is in a bike accident, of course you're worried. But once you find out he's alive and okay, then you're furious, right?
Like, what the fuck are you doing?
What are you doing?
My favorite was Lando when he asked Lance if he could still wank.
Yeah.
And I think Lance shook that one off. But I mean,
but then Carlos Sainz was like, bro, if he can drive Formula One, he could win.
Lance also said, I'm saving my energy for the track.
Yeah, there you go.
It was a good, it was a
nice answer, neutral answer.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, of course, the one thing that you wouldn't want to damage is your two wrists or your hands.
And his toe. You're slamming on the
toe,
on the brake.
I think it was on accelerator side. So it would have been interesting if it was brake side because the braking is intense.
Yeah.
But yeah, I naturally think Lance was obviously upset. Everyone was like,
right.
Of
course.
It was a shitty situation, but it was a really good, again, this was a really a good display of the Lance I know. Like, he had to show a bit of adversity and fucking show up. And, he had Alonso as a teammate. And he did. And he, got top 10 the first race and did really well after that. And so it was really cool to see that. Like, I think it showed a lot of humility as well.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, it's important. So it's cool to see that.
Yeah. Okay. So we got to the meet cute moment of you and Lance, right? So then how does that parlay into you being his brother-in-law? So it's like you're standing at a urinal, he's like, Scotty James, Lance Stroll, what the fuck's up? How's your dick? My dick's cool too. Like, what? And then, where does that then turn into? Because I've heard you maybe talk in other interviews that like he at some point called Chloe and was like, I think I just met your husband.
In the urinal.
In the urinal. And Chloe, I saw it. You're good.
He's like, he's got some length with the piss. Like
right.
He's like a strong 45 to a minute 30.
Yeah. Bladder's strong.
No, so the story is that I had met Lance, in 2018, and then we would stay in touch. And I was actually flying through New York. I had a layover for 2 days before I went on to Switzerland. I was just going. I'd never been. I wanted to check it out. And he literally texted me as I was going there and he said, hey, do you want to go to Canada? And then I was like, I actually can't. I'm going to New York. And then Chloe was there. So then we ended up syncing up. Like, Chloe and I met in New York.
Oh, nice.
We went out to dinner.
Where'd you go?
With her friends at the time, and we went to Motel Morris.
On 18th. Yeah. I love Motel Morris. Yeah.
And here we are.
Wow.
Yeah. In short, that's the
right
conclusion of how we came together. But,
sure.
Yeah. So now it's
So
now I juggle in the paddock. Obviously, DR being one of my closest friends.
Right.
Family biz.
Yes.
Wanting the best for both of them.
Right. Yeah. Does this hat? How's this hat doing?
How's this hat doing? How's that hat doing? Walking into the Aston Martin garage. You go to the listeners. To those listening, he's wearing a Red Bull hat.
Yeah.
There's moments where I have to, depending on the day.
Okay.
If it's bad down one end of the paddock, like not great. Like that the kettle's overflowed.
Yeah.
It's a bit of this.
Just
in respect.
Yeah.
But And then also,
So-
obviously,
so-
they understand. Like, this is my job. I'm
Right.
a snowboarder. Red Bull's been my partner, awesome partner now for far out ages, since I was
Yeah.
15,
Yeah.
almost 15 years. So, yeah. And then obviously DR's went to Renault and then was at McLaren. And
Bros before hoes.
I always, I always had a laugh. I was like, can someone make me just like a hat
yeah,
that's like one side is
Uh-huh.
Brady
no,
Quinn. Do you remember
Red
Brady
Bull.
Quinn?
Yeah.
and then one
yeah.
side
One
is,
side's-
you know,
yeah.
18 green.
That's what well yeah, Brady
Brady Quinn, his sister was dating. There was a quarterback for Notre Dame. His
Right.
his sister was dating like a linebacker on Ohio State on the other side, and his sister showed up to like the game with like half was Notre Dame and half was Ohio State, and that's
Well,
what you need.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Travis Kelce's mom,
yeah,
because when they played against each other in the Super Bowl last year,
yeah.
she wore it because it was Eagles and,
Yeah.
and Chiefs, and she wore like someone made her a half and half jersey.
But you're just gonna end up pissing both people off,
Right,
When
yeah.
you walk in.
You have to get it
Yeah.
approved. You
Yeah.
have to get it approved. I feel like
It's
that'd
what
be
it is.
that would be kind of iconic if you walked in wearing like a half Red Bull, half Aston
Uh-huh.
hat.
I went to a Knicks game recently, NBA, and it was sick. Good experience.
Yeah.
But I sat next to, I forget the players, but one son was playing for the Pacers, the other one was playing for Knicks.
Okay.
And the mum was sitting next to me, and I was talking to her, and she had like, you know, his signature shoe on one foot and the other signature shoe on the other. I was like, how sick is that? As
No,
a
Well, it's going to
mum,
cost
like,
some like hip
in NBA.
unalignment, but that's the first place I went.
But yeah, it's complicated to
Yeah.
summarize. it.
Right, right.
But yeah.
What? So you're in. You meet Chloe. You guys get together. Like, what's that first kind of sit down with Lawrence like? Like when
What's
you're
the-
dating. Like,
is it-
if you're dating, I mean, talk about like the most intimidating father-in-law that you could possibly have in the world. Like you are up like in the top
Up there.
1%
Yeah.
of like intimidating fathers-in-laws.
Yeah.
Like what was that first
Who's
kind of?
more intimidating? I can't even think of one.
More intimidating.
Then I mean, he's like the most intimidating man in the world.
Yeah.
it appears to me. Obviously,
He's
you
like
have
a
a different
nightmare of I can't even think of. I literally I'm not.
We did it, and when we were in high school, we grew up with John McEnroe's daughter was a
Okay.
good friend of ours,
Right.
and so we did a sketch show our senior year.
Of like how scary would it be?
And so we did a sketch show, and we were like, Emily, we asked her to be like a part of it, and we were like, could we do a sketch? Would John be open to doing a sketch where like one of us is taking you to prom,
Mm-hmm.
and like you're getting ready, and he's like grilling you
Yeah.
about like what are your intentions
Which is
with my daughter? So we filmed this
Yeah.
thing with John McEnroe,
And he was
No
just,
way.
like grilling us.
and he lived up to the moment.
Yeah.
Like we were like
He
terrified.
understood the assignment.
He understood the assignment. He crushed it.
Yeah, yeah.
He improv'd, and he was just like,
And he was like, he came late from like
he was
showed
at a
up
Met
late.
game.
He was
He
at a
was-
Met game.
he
He
was at-
showed up late,
yes.
and then and Brian was trying to make small talk with him and was like, "Hey, John, like, how was the Met game?" He goes, "I don't know. I had to leave early." And we were like,
He's like, to come
do this
to come
stupid
film
thing
this thing with you guys.
Come
60
meet you.
to come meet
idiot.
you.
So,
And
like,
it was
what are we
all in
doing?
extra innings, which means it was like exciting.
Yeah.
And he had to miss it. And he was wearing like a tie-dye shirt.
A Jimi Hendrix experience.
Because he's like he's into like music and stuff, but it didn't look adult. And so I was like really scared. So I went to his daughter and was like, do you think he could wear like something a little more adult? And he was like, Dad, Matt hates your shirt. Change it. And I was like, oh,
He looked at us like,
God.
who the fuck are these kids in my
Fuck are
home?
these kids?
So good.
So yeah, we were just intimidating, pretending to date his daughter.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know what I'm
yeah.
saying?
Yeah.
You
I'm
were actually doing
Yeah,
it.
yeah. What was that first meeting like?
So the first one was quite funny because it was in a lot of milestones actually in Melbourne, but it was in Melbourne during the race, and Chloe and I had been seeing each other so January, February, March. The race is always around March, so 2.5 months
Okay.
at that point, and I was just this Scott guy.
Right. Right.
That was it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Actually,
yeah.
I don't even think the name was in the equation.
Right, right.
I was just a guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And that's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, 2 months in, it's
Yeah.
this is early
just
days.
a guy.
Yeah.
Even
Yeah.
if you
Yeah.
heard the name 10 times,
Yeah.
still a guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we were I remember it because it was before either quali or the race, one of the two. And in those moments, like naturally, everyone's pretty intense. And he was sitting we were at the hospitality. And I walked over and I kind of walked past and I wasn't going to actually go and say hi to Chloe. And she's sitting with her mum, Claire Ann.
Yeah.
And she's lovely. And she like saw me and waved me down. She's like, come over and sit with us. And like, I saw him in the corner. So I didn't know what to do. And Chloe didn't tell me to come. So I'm like, oh shit, like, I don't know what to do here. So I walk over and I sit at the table and Chloe's here. I think Claire Ann's there.
My heart
Chloe's
is in
mum.
my heart is pounding.
Yeah, my palms are sweating. Oh, Venkers, this episode is brought to you by BetMGM. As you know by now, we've teamed up with BetMGM this season. We'll be using BetMGM lines to make our picks, and we'll have special offers for our listeners each week. I don't know if you knew, but did you place your bets on Yuki and Daniel getting a podium this season? On Red Bull winning all of the races? On Lando getting his first win? If you made those bets at the beginning of the season, you know you did it on BetMGM because we put them there, baby. And if you haven't signed up for BetMGM yet, use bonus code RED and you will get up to $1,500 first bet offer on your first wager with BetMGM. Here's how it works. You download the BetMGM app and you sign up using bonus code RED. Deposit at least $10 and place your first wager on any game, any race, hockey, basketball, whatever it might be, F1, IndyCar, NASCAR, you know what it is. You'll receive up to $1,500 in bonus bets if your bet loses. Just make sure that you use the bonus code RED when you sign up. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Available in the United States. Call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369 for New York. Call 1-800-327-5050 for Massachusetts. 21 and over only. Please gamble responsibly. Call 1-800-NEXT-STEP for Arizona. 1-800-BETS-OFF for Iowa. 1-800-981-0023 for Puerto Rico. First bet offer for new customer only. Subject to eligibility requirements, rewards are non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire in 7 days in partnership with Kansas Crossing Casino and Hotel. Don't forget, if you haven't signed up for BetMGM yet, use bonus code RED and get your $1,500 first bet offer today. Oh, Venkers, this episode is brought to you by Southern Comfort. With an innovative blend of fruit and spices, SoCo whiskey is the original ready-for-anything spirit. Satisfying on its own and ideal for any mixed drink, Southern Comfort is tasteful and approachable however you drink it and whoever you drink it with. You have friends you don't like? Guess what? Have a little SoCo with them? You might like them, okay? Yeah, we got SoCo Original, the classic, right? It uses an iconic recipe of sweetly spiced fruits mixed with a dash of whiskey flavor that has been popular for decades. It's in a category all its own. There's these other ones that are kind of trying to do SoCo now, but SoCo is the OG. SoCo is the Ferrari of this type of drink. Then we got the SoCo Black. It has a whiskey kick with a hint of sweetness that is suave and complex, but welcomingly simple to use in any cocktail of your choosing. And no matter the moment, Southern Comfort is ready for anything, packed with flavor, mixes with anything, and easy to drink. Next time you're at the bar, go ahead and order some SoCo Sour shots. 1 part SoCo, 2 parts Sour Mitch. They're delicious and guaranteed to keep the party going, baby, just like Lewis Hamilton has done to Formula One. That's what SoCo can do to your party, what Lewis Hamilton has done to the Formula One community. We can just mix it up and make it fun. How about that? Okay, now back to the show.
And
I'm like, Matt, he's here today, so he's fine.
Directly, but like just kind of off this way. Like not enough that if I was looking straight forward, Lawrence was in front of me. He was kind of like in this direction.
Yeah. Okay.
And I was speaking to Chloe and I was speaking to Claire, and every time I'd speak to her, I'd see him there, but he had his aviators on, the famous.
Yes!
You didn't know where he was looking.
Yes!
Had the famous aviators on.
Yeah.
And he was in a meeting, but he was just kind of like looking forward.
Mm-hmm.
So he could have been looking at you, maybe.
But I don't know. So I don't want to. Now I know him. He wouldn't have been. Or I don't know. But if he was, he was looking straight fucking. I was just not even in the equation.
So this wasn't. You didn't actually meet him.
So
at that moment,
you get there, and then this thing happens, and I remember like hitting Chloe. I'm like, your dad's like staring at me, like dead staring at me. Yeah. And she looks at him and she goes, "Oh no, he's not. He's not even looking at you."
You'd be dead if that was
right.
Dead if
and then the race happened. It went really well, and then we met for the first time. I said hello, but that was the first time.
Right.
Mm.
What's the handshake like? What's a Lawrence Stroll handshake? What's the vibe?
Depends who you are.
Okay.
Well, if he's you, let's say he's you.
I'm hugs.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Hug
Right.
stage.
Yeah.
Okay.
We bypass the handshake
Okay.
now.
But that first time, like you're dating my daughter. What?
Did he-
Like
did he-
what
Yeah,
is
it
it?
was this one.
Yeah.
And then natural progression was like, this.
Right.
Yeah.
Dab it up.
Yeah.
We're getting
Like
there.
one arm
Yeah.
hug.
Yeah, and then now he's
Just full hug.
just a good hug.
Yeah.
He looks like he'd
Yeah.
give a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah, great hug.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Have you picked up any? We're Jews. We're Jews.
It's a good one.
We're Jews.
So am I.
Yeah, that's right.
I actually am.
Oh, you
I
well.
converted.
You
Did you?
converted.
Yeah.
L'chaim. You actually converted?
Yeah, I converted.
Did you do the chair on the wedding?
Yep. We
All
did
right.
the chair.
Did you go? You were in a chuppah.
I did a full. Yep.
Yeah.
You step on the glass.
Yep.
And we saw you had a kippah.
I had a keeper. Yeah, so I converted, and I'm Jewish. One of the boys.
Yeah.
One of the boys.
Dude, you might be
Welcome
one of the
in.
best athletes we have.
Yeah. We claim you.
Did he make you get circumcised?
Let's not go there.
Have you picked up any Yiddish?
Yiddish.
No Yiddish.
What's some words I really like?
Yeah.
I love mensch. I reckon that's
Yeah.
real.
It's a great one.
That's a solid word.
That's
Is that
solid.
thrown around in the Stroll household
You're
at
a
all?
mensch, yeah.
Yeah.
But only with like real mensches.
They don't.
Right.
It's not overused.
No,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
don't-
yeah.
you don't
That's
throw it
precious
There's no
word.
mensch inflation.
Yeah. No.
No one's a schmuck in the Stroll household, or
Yeah, there's a few schmucks.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Meaning, people get called schmucks often.
yeah,
Right.
putzes.
Putzes. There's I'm a big Shabbat guy. I love Shabbat.
Yeah.
Oh, do you practice?
Fridays we do Shabbat.
You do
because-
Shabbat dinner?
Yeah, we do Shabbat dinner every
Right.
This guy's more Jewish than we are.
Literally.
I love it.
Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah, it just
You know,
it forces
get
you to just
No
decompress.
phones.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Just be present.
Yeah.
Talk about the week. See how you're going. Good or bad. You just talk about
since
it.
you've become Jewish, has your mom started calling you and making you feel like shit about yourself? Is that
No, my mum loves it.
then you're not Jewish.
She-
That comes with the package.
she-
It's
she
just a
wants to
mom
be-
guilting you and shaming you and making you feel horrible about
I
yourself.
think she wants to go to Israel and do a full conversion, honestly. She's,
Wow.
How did
she's
your
not going to. But
Yeah.
how did your conversion? What did you do?
Yeah. What was
So
the
I
process?
did, I was pretty intense. I did about, I'd say around 15 to 15 weeks of lessons with a rabbi. The rabbi I did it with was in Italy, who officiated our wedding at the end. I did, it's mikveh, right? When you do,
Oh, you did a
Uh-huh.
bath?
yeah, I did a bath
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah.
on the FaceTime. So it was very legit. And then I had to learn a bunch about obviously the holidays and
Right.
traditions and everything like that.
This guy didn't do it. He just had to be fucking born.
I was just born.
You were just
I
born.
didn't do Hebrew school.
Yeah, I did Hebrew school.
I didn't have
Did
a
you
bar
really?
mitzvah.
Of course, I did. I
Yeah,
was bar mitzvahed.
Okay.
Did you get bar mitzvahed?
No bar mitzvah.
Well, that's next for you.
Yeah, could have used the cash. Not,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
But-
yeah.
If it's anything close to your wedding, it would be a pretty fun bar mitzvah.
Yeah.
So wait,
True.
whose idea was this? Like, was this a conversation? Was this something that you were like, I want to do this? Was this a conversation with the family? Like, how did this come about? The
yeah, it was
process.
important to Chloe and
Yeah.
the family, and respectfully, I value that. So I was like 100%.
Nice.
It was more about just understanding the traditions and the
Mhm.
values.
Yeah,
of, the Jewish religion, which I'm well versed in now, obviously since
Yeah.
then. But and then understanding why certain things are done, and so
Yeah.
You ever throw in you tell Chloe she's got a Shana Punim?
Shana Punim.
Shana
Yeah.
Punim.
No,
Oh, she's got a Shana put him.
It's a
Nice face.
nice
a
face.
Shana Punim.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My,
Where is
my
it?
Jewish name is Ari,
All right.
Nice.
Nice.
so Scott Ari.
Super.
A sh-
Chloe's Faggy. She's
Faggy.
Yeah, and Lance is Jakob.
Jakob.
Jacob.
Yeah,
Yeah. Tell
Yeah.
her she's got a Shana put him.
Shana
like-
Punim. Good
yeah.
face.
Just
Nice
just like
face.
you look pretty today.
And if someone,
kind of thing.
if someone's got a miserable face, they've got a Fabissina put him.
Fabissina Punim.
Yeah, Punim. Yeah.
Fabissina.
Punim.
Punim means face.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's like, yeah, if someone's ever, like
Lawrence Stroll after a bad race has a Fabissina.
He has major Fabissina punum. Hey, wipe that Fabissina off your punum, okay?
Yeah. You don't remember that one.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wait, so can we talk a bit about the wedding? Because the wedding like broke
the internet.
Formula One internet.
Broke the internet.
It broke the internet of several sports. That's right. You fuck with golf too.
Yeah, I like golf. The wedding was great. It was fun. We had the best time.
Yeah.
And everyone kept saying to us so much, they were like, make sure you get your 10 minutes together. But honestly, we felt like we were engaged and we had a sick time the whole time. Like we got to really so we had a 3-day bender.
Yeah.
Celebration. And I feel like for strategy, it was quite good. The first night we had like a bit of a welcome drinks and we said hello to every person, like everyone that showed up, because sometimes with a bigger wedding, you don't get to say hi to everyone. So we stood at the front door and we said, say hi to everyone. So then, I feel like sometimes if you don't, then the 3 days you're kind of consumed by.
Right. You kind of get that out of the way.
Time.
Yeah.
You check the box.
I don't want to say get it out of the way.
No, but it's true. It's true. I mean, you go to a thing like that and it's like, when I'm at a big wedding, I always feel like stressed for the bride and groom. Cause I'm like, especially if I'm like, it's like, or if it's like a cousin of mine, I'm just like, oh, it's all good. Like, I love you guys. Like, don't have to worry, because they're being pulled in a million different directions.
You are a burden.
Yeah.
Specifically.
Just me. That's a good smart move.
Yeah. So then after that, we were able to just enjoy it.
Just kick back and enjoy.
It was fun. It was super fun. So we did one night. Then we had the wedding on the Friday.
Okay.
Obviously before sunset.
Yeah.
Right. Before you shut it down.
Then we did, we just had some friends over from everywhere, Australia, UK, Europe, US. It was fun.
So why Venice? Because we're in Venice right now. So a different Venice.
Yeah, we are.
It's a little slightly different vibe.
Yeah, slightly different vibe. A little less pasta.
Yeah.
Maybe. But the
better skating though, probably.
Better skating, for sure. But we actually, no specific reason. We always wanted to go. So originally we were looking around Italy. We actually looked a few places. And when we went there, I don't know, it's just something. We were like, this is cool. Like, we know a lot of people have gotten married in Venice before, but we did it in a pretty cool, unique way. And it's a city of love. Like, it was sick.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
It was cool. Like, it's, you get around on boats and everyone's together. And so we got the feeling, I would say, it was like the defining decision on doing it there. So it was fun.
Nice. How involved were you in like the lead up, the like planning, like all that kind of stuff?
The ladies are going to want to know. Our producers.
We have some questions from our producer. We have a big female audience. We're curious. Like, how.
Everything basically.
It was all me.
Right. Well,
actually.
we're gonna ask you some questions that we're gonna.
Yeah,
see.
like Chloe could have put it more of an effort in actually. I was doing that, snowboarding, the whole thing. Anyway,
right. What was the flavor of the cake?
Oh, we did a crostata. So this huge crostata. It almost, like you see a massive paella.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
Paella.
Yeah.
Right. It was like this huge, big crostata.
Nice.
It's like crostata is my favorite dessert.
Nice.
So we did that. But nah, Chloe definitely did all the heavy lifting. And her mum. They did a good job.
What was the first dance song?
First dance song was a Chris Stapleton song.
Okay.
And it was shit. This is embarrassing. You're definitely not cutting this out.
Yeah. You were like, I thought we were going to talk about Formula One. What the fuck?
Okay, I like these songs. It was... Oh, damn it. It's not even there. Anyway, we danced to a great song.
Okay, great. What was... okay, hold on. How many outfit changes did she make over the course of the night? Was there like a wedding dress and then a party dress though?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, that makes sense. But first night there was one, wedding day 2. I even actually changed outfit.
That was another question. Yeah. What did you start with? What did you switch into?
Just a black
black
tie tuxedo, and then switched into a white jacket and some white Air Force Ones in the night.
Nice.
Yeah, come on,
get the dancing feet going.
Get comfortable with it.
Chloe got into white Air Force Ones and like a shorter, kind of like more playful dress.
Gotcha. Was there a band or a DJ?
Both.
Oh.
Yeah, we had a good band
Nice.
play that was really sick. And then we had, super good DJ.
Nice.
And we definitely it was sunrise when we walked out.
Yeah.
Oh,
And we didn't even realize.
Yeah.
I love that.
Did you make a playlist? What were like some gotta have this song? Like this is a banger. Like what did you?
I'm a big 90s. I love 90s hip hop.
Okay.
I do like some house music. I like deep house music too. So it's a good combination between some mainstream music, but then some good stuff.
Nice. What was in the swag bag for the guests?
Ooh, swag bag. There was, from memory, there was a rescue kit which had Tylenol in it. I think.
Right. Yeah.
I think there was some mints in there, not in the rescue bag, but
yeah, sure.
There was some mints in there. Might have been some chocolate. I think there was, I don't know. I can't remember off the top of my head.
Sure.
There's a bunch of stuff in there.
Yeah. Who gave the best speech?
My brother Sean kind of knocked it out of the park.
Really?
Okay, yeah.
Because he's been around us the most, so he did a good job. There were some really nice ones, but my brother Sean's was I felt like I was watching a Broadway show. It was hilarious.
Oh, interesting.
Wow.
Nice.
Yeah, he pulled out this what looked like a Bible, and he pulled out the Bible and he was like, "I'm gonna read some things from the Bible," and he pretended it was dated back to the 1700s, and he before he started his speech, he opens his book and goes. And there was a bunch of baby powder in there, and he starts reading it. It was so
he came
good.
with props.
Yeah, it was brilliant.
That's amazing.
Sorry, the Torah.
Yeah.
Not the Bible.
Dude, you are forgiven. What was the best activation? Was there a photo booth? What was the Did you have
Best
any
activation? The last night was really fun. We had at a fish market.
Uh-huh.
It was super sick, food set up. That was pretty fun. We had just a really good band. There was some really funny photo props set up for people to take photos. Actually, smoked meat is a big thing, right?
Yeah.
In Montreal, where Chloe comes from.
Yeah.
So we definitely had some smoked meat in town.
Nice.
Had some sandwiches.
Did you have any bagels, Montreal style bagels?
Actually, no, we should have, but
Ooh.
or there might have been. I just didn't see them.
Yeah.
But it was cool.
Nice.
Yeah.
So we mentioned there was the reports that came. There was the after the wedding. There was this whole live PGA deal.
I'm gonna be killed after this podcast.
I will say your agent did give us the green light to ask you this.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah, were you aware that was going on? Was this a surprise to you? What other deals were brokered at your wedding?
Your wedding seems like it was a Trojan horse for a lot of shit.
The Trojan horse. Yeah, there was some. I don't know the details, but there were some deals made.
Yes, nice, good.
And
there
that's
might
all
have
I
been
have to say about that.
Might have been some golf clubs and golf balls involved.
Yes.
Yeah.
Somewhere. But,
Yes. Okay.
Yeah, that's all I got.
Okay, so how's Aston Martin looking this year? How do you think? What are you got any predictions?
Nice pivot.
Yeah.
Predictions. I don't know. I think it'll be, from what I understand, points team again this year, top 10, might have some good moments depending the track, but again, I don't know the nitty gritty details, but I do know that, obviously Red Bull's going to be significant. I think they're 2/10 quicker than everyone already.
Yeah.
But I think definitely top 5, top 4, top 5 is Aston this year.
Yeah.
it's kind of all I got. I did actually get to go out, which is really cool. I went out to Silverstone and watched the test just for a couple of hours, and the guys like Alonso and Lance were saying the car was really good. So we'll see.
Nice.
There could be some surprises, and it was crazy. Now it's great in F1 where obviously I think like the cost cap's good, and then obviously performance is a little bit more. It's probably testing and challenging teams a little bit more just with development.
Yeah.
Because, like, look at last year, like, McLaren was maybe, 8th or 9th.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden they were mid-season break comes around and they were just steaming at the end.
Yeah.
So I think that's exciting too.
Totally.
I think the driver market's going to be exciting too. It's going to be a soap opera.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
I don't know.
it's already blown everyone's
crazy.
mind.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's already.
the Lewis move was crazy.
Well, I think
Before the season too.
Yeah.
Well, I also think just because like all their contracts are up, they're going to be driving like psychos.
Yeah.
Right.
You know,
Yeah,
just trying to prove
everyone's going to leave no stone unturned.
Yeah.
Right.
And everyone would really want that Mercedes seat for sure.
Yeah.
How pissed do you think Lando is that he signed before?
I don't know, and I don't know how that works out because I mean, do most of the drivers have break clauses?
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, does he have one? I
Right.
have no idea.
Sure.
I think McLaren's obviously a strong team, and he's kind of like the guy for McLaren.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I feel like with that, because obviously George is the future of Mercedes.
Is he though?
Yeah, well, I think so. I think he's like obviously very good.
Yeah.
He is very good,
but I
but
think
if he can't beat Lewis, then
But he did last year.
He did beat him. He beat him the year before. We have, yeah.
I think it's been pretty fair play
Yeah.
the
I
past
see.
2 seasons.
Okay,
I wouldn't say there's been one significant out of the two.
Right.
Okay.
Personally.
Right.
Okay.
But I should actually check the facts on that, like in terms of like,
Not on this podcast.
Yeah,
You
this
don't have to
podcast
check
is not about
anything.
that.
Facts,
It's just feelings over fact.
Yes.
But like I find with a team like that, or just most of the teams, like McLaren obviously took on 2 like pretty youthful young drivers.
Right.
Mhm.
Aston's like youthful young, and then obviously Alonso that brings a lot of value and they can learn a lot from him. So
Yeah.
it'd be interesting to see like what Mercedes' next step is. Is it going to be a pretty front foot and just bring like 2 young guys in,
Mhm.
Right.
or do you find someone more mature?
Yeah.
to drive with Jordan.
Right. Because there's this Kimi
Knowingly.
Antonelli kid who's coming up through the ranks.
Yeah, I heard
who's
about
like
that. F2
apparently
guy.
just
Unbelievable.
unbelievable.
Italian,
Yeah.
And that was like Verstappen. I mean,
Right.
he was either F4 or F3 and went straight into F1.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like
Yeah.
Yeah.
crushed it.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, you mentioned Oscar, another Australian, but we were kind of like marveling at that. There's like kind of like typical, Australian stereotype, I guess, like what you think in Australia, and you and Daniel kind of fit in that category. You're kind of like, friendly, boisterous, like funny guy, and then
Was
like
it you, Brian, are saying Australians are like Americans that people don't hate.
yeah, I was like, you get to be like boisterous and loud and whatever, but you don't have like the stigma of being American.
Yeah.
So you get like all
That's
the
so
benefits
fun.
of the
Yeah.
personality
Yeah.
kind of stuff without that thing. But where does have you hung out with him? Have you spent any time with him? Like, what does Oscar sit in your mind to you as like an Australian? Does he like not make sense?
We
to you?
say he's breaking barriers for Australians.
Yeah,
he's
he's breaking
showing
down
that you can
stereotypes.
be like quiet and nerdy as an Australian.
yeah, he's met him.
Yeah.
Super nice kid.
Yeah.
He's really nice. And his trainer's really nice. Like generally, yeah, got a lot. I just think he's a good kid.
Yeah.
And I think he's, you know what? I think he's one of those, he probably is similar to, again, I don't know him that well. So I'm only just from my small time I've spent time with him. I think he's someone that is just, he's a competitor.
Yeah.
Like he wants to win. And I think that's his goal. So
Yeah.
like there's no other motive other
Yeah.
than that. And I think that's what his personality is.
Yeah.
So not to say that being a character is necessarily a motive or you have to work hard on doing that, but sometimes naturally that comes to people and you can distinguish between the two, whereas some are just like competitors.
Yeah.
And they don't necessarily care to have any of that other shit going on, or it doesn't come to them like it's not a natural kind of
Yeah,
thing.
whether he win, we've seen him win a sprint race and seen him get.
I would like
punted
see him
off.
get pretty pumped up,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
because when he won the sprint race, he's just very
He's so even.
he's here.
He's like wet, cool, like nice.
Yeah.
And then when he gets knocked off, I've seen him get punted off the track, and he's like, I don't know what that guy was doing. Like,
I'll bring the car around. I guess.
I got punted off the track.
I gotta put it in reverse.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I've had very small amounts of like time, but yeah, I would just say he's very I think his priorities are in the car and racing, and that's what he wants to do, which I think is great.
And what's next? What's next on your agenda?
My agenda now is I go back to Australia. So I finished my competition season, had a really great year, which was awesome. I felt really happy with the season. So I'm kind of going into the off season now, being able to chill. I'll go watch the Oz GP. We don't really get to that many races. Like, we're obviously in it and amongst it and talk about it. Like, but Chloe and I, we go to Melbourne, we go to Monaco, we try to go to Montreal because that's where she grew up.
Yeah.
I went to Singapore last year. That was a cool one. But we don't go like a lot.
Yeah.
Maybe when I retire one day, I'll just do the full world tour.
Right.
Chloe did it once, and she was like, it was
never again.
Full on. Like, she finished college, and I think the year Lance was in Williams, and she was like, I'm going to do a full F1 season. She was like,
it seems like we've gone to a couple just like to be spectators and do a podcast, and we're like, this is exhausting.
Yeah.
You know,
the travel is insane.
It's also just extremely stimulating the whole time.
Right.
Yeah.
There's always people walking around and the who's who, and there's always like,
right.
And I love the US. Like, I love how it's been Americanized a bit, like just very extra. You guys are just so extra.
We just do it big.
What?
Bigger, louder,
were you at Vegas this
faster?
year?
No, I wasn't, but it looked insane.
Vegas was fucking
insane.
crazy.
It was so
crazy.
amazing.
I heard it was like, I've heard
it was like Hunger Games vibes. It was insane.
Yeah, I mean that the opening ceremonies when they got risen through the boxes, that was real. We were at the ceremony.
I'd love to know the budget for that.
Not enough.
Alone.
Not enough.
Yeah,
but yeah, it's cool.
But but the older fans, I feel like a lot of the older fans are like always just looking for a reason to hate the USification. But so it's nice to hear, someone who likes it.
No, I like it. I think it's good. And before, like, for example, like Daniel and I, he would almost used to come here to LA to get away from people recognizing who he was.
Right.
Not
it's a
anymore.
very European based sport. And the first year that we met when we were here, that was the case. Like, obviously, people would obviously notice.
Yeah.
But like, now it's insane. We were in Montana last year, or whenever it was, in the middle of fucking nowhere.
Yeah.
Really?
And the whole street is like stops it. And I'm like, this is mental.
Yeah.
But it's amazing what that's done for the business and the characters in the sport, him and everyone else. Like,
Totally.
it has just blown it up.
Yeah.
And where, like, I know that we have an Australian fan. I don't know if he's from Melbourne. I don't know if you know the band Jet.
Yes.
They're from, and he was like, nobody gives a fuck about snowboarding in Australia.
Yeah.
But he's like, but I was wondering where are the pockets of like where you can't go anywhere?
Where do you
Melbourne's pretty
Yeah.
It's a bit like that for me.
Yeah.
And then also just like ski resorts around the world, like Switzerland a lot. I would actually say
you're
Switzerland's
like
pretty
this in
prominent.
Switzerland. You're like,
No, not like that. But
Well, you got the helmet and the goggles, so it could probably helps.
No,
But do you rock the red do you rock the red gloves when you're just like at a resort just yourself?
yeah.
You do? So he's trying to get noticed, dude.
You're trying to get recognized.
And in the US quite a bit, like just ski resorts and things. And even Yeah. And honestly, now it's wild. Even just like being associated indirectly to F1, people are
Yeah.
Have
fucking
people
maniacs.
stopped you being like, oh my God, you're Daniel Ricciardo's friend?
Yes.
Oh my God, you're
But-
you're
or
Chloe
like-
What do you
Stroll's
get
husband.
more,
Anything.
Daniel Ricciardo's friend or Chloe Stroll's husband? Chloe Stroll's husband.
Well, it usually goes either one of them 50-50, and then
Yeah.
my snowboarding's like down here somewhere.
It's like,
You're like,
I got a gold medal in the
multiple
X
gold
Games.
medals.
Yeah. Forget about all that.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
I have to ask, when you train, like what's important? Like, cause I know drivers,
yeah.
it's neck, and then the core, you have to be strong, and the leg, cause you're hitting the brake. But I saw like the guy who got the gold medal, he's just like this little guy.
yeah.
And I'm like, what is there like an ideal body type for a snowboarder? Because it's like, you look like you
There
do. He
is.
looks like he does. Sean White didn't seem particularly fit.
Who's
like
that?
He didn't seem physically imposing. It doesn't seem like, all drivers, they're kind of lanky. They're either really short or they're like, Esteban Ocon, they're really skinny and they have thick necks.
Yeah.
Like, what's the ideal body type for a snowboarder?
Short.
Short?
Because it's all about lowering
Rotation.
your center of gravity. So like
Yeah,
the
yeah.
lower you can be, like the stronger you can be in
So you've
transition.
overcome a lot.
Yeah.
I'm definitely I'm very tall for my sport.
Right.
Like, it's not, I don't know, it has a pros and cons because it's like it's a little bit more challenging trick wise, but then in bad conditions I could probably hold speed better than most, which means like I'm going to be able to go higher so I can make the level a bit higher than everyone else.
How does height help
Interesting.
you go higher?
Well,
Weight?
not
Weight?
height, just the weight.
Yeah.
Just the
So
weight.
like I would say I'm 80 kilos, and then I reckon most of my competitors would be like high 60s, 70, 75 maybe. So 5 more kegs, 6 more kegs.
So if
goes
it's
a
like
long way.
inclement, if it is like snowing, or if it's like bad weather,
You're
or
like,
it's
fuck
choppy,
yeah.
are you like, this is like, let's fucking go?
I don't think about it in the sense of weight, but I think we work hard to try and make sure I could win in any
Right.
scenario.
Right.
And
What?
like
Yeah.
if it's snowing, it's fun for me.
And
It's
is
a
it
good
hard for
challenge.
you? Is it hard for you when you do a run and you do pretty good, and then the next guy's going and he goes up and you're like, just don't nail it, like fall, don't hurt yourself,
right.
don't hurt yourself, but face plant a little bit.
I mean, naturally, of course.
Yeah,
but,
it's in there.
So are you like fall? Don't
just-
get hurt.
Just wobble, just
never-
wobble.
Never wish that upon anyone.
No, right.
But
How do you not? Though?
I
In the
can't. I
Olympic
don't.
in the Olympic Games, you're not wishing when the guy from Japan is going up. You're like, come on, just wobble.
I
Just
was
fuck up
like,
a little
yeah,
bit.
fuck him. I definitely was thinking like,
Yeah.
but I don't watch. I never really watch.
you don't
because
watch. Because you don't like that about.
Yeah, I just generally don't. I'm just like, whatever happens, happens.
Right.
And when you
right.
do you see their program before?
Yeah, you know what they're gonna do.
Okay.
But if you see what he's doing, you're like, I got to change my program to try to beat that program.
You gotta think very far in advance so you can have a good understanding of what is gonna happen that season. It's honestly similar to F1. It's almost like, well, not really, but if I was like, let's say I was developing a run and then developing a car, for example.
Yeah.
Like I can only really prepare as well as I know that this is what might be my competition.
Right.
So that's kind of the scenario. And it
Yeah.
makes it challenging too, because we train every day with them. So it's very hard.
Right.
Because half pipes are very few and far between.
Right.
Yeah. There's only
They're not that accessible around
So
the
you
world.
like
Right.
so for your Olympic run, you're like, these are the moves I'm going to do, and you didn't know what he was going to do.
I did know, but honestly, I probably could have, he brought the triple cork, which was something that had really never been done before. And I don't want to say I didn't anticipate it, because I did, but it was something where I probably should have been more forward thinking in the springtime when I was learning everything to be able to do it as well. Like I did end up figuring it out in the end before that event, but it wasn't fine tuned enough. For
It was
me
too
to
late
really,
for you
answer
to
back.
it was like
Yeah.
F1. It was too late for you to switch to do a B spec and
Exactly. Yeah.
switch development directions.
Yeah,
Interesting,
exactly.
yeah.
So you can't like on the day being like, oh, he's doing a triple cork, I guess I'll do a triple cork. It's too late at that
You can if you have the trait.
Right.
But also, the thing is all our runs are different, because you got regular and then goofy. So I'm left foot forward, I'm regular.
Right.
Yeah.
And then right foot forward is goofy.
Yeah.
Right.
he's goofy, I'm regular. That doesn't matter. It's more that I'll put my run together and it kind of has to happen in motion between regular and goofy. And it's very tough in some cases to just add something in.
Right.
In the moment.
Right.
I see. Mike, it's
I don't want to get like too much lingo.
No,
too
it's
confusing.
interesting.
No,
It's
no,
interesting 'cause,
yeah,
we watched the crash reel. That's our only. I don't know if you're familiar.
Never
with
seen it. No.
That's the only. But there was. I remember watching it. You watch that documentary and you're like, "Fuck Shaun White." That was what every normal person thought, right?
Yeah.
It was because like Kevin Pierce, like Shaun White had his own like trampoline thing.
Yeah.
And then Kevin Pierce was like, I share mine.
Yeah.
And then, but Shaun White's like later come out and being like, a lot of snowboarders back then, they came from like more upper middle class and they were more, they'd want to like share the winnings. And then Shaun White was like, no, fuck that. Like, I'm not going to agree to share the winnings. Like I worked hard. I want to make the money myself. And I'm wondering how like that attitude has like evolved over time. Has it gotten more, because like back then it seemed like it was like, we're all in this together, like more of like a surfing culture.
Yeah.
How has that evolved in like the next generation?
Yeah, I was kind of in the mix in that time, that time of snowboarding. I was young,
right?
13,
right? But you went pro, like it's like F1.
Young,
you get
like
you
13,
you make it
14.
your occupation, like super young.
So I honestly, I respect both, because some people, it's like we were saying before, some people work really well with that intensity 24/7.
Right.
And they're like, they're like, fuck everyone. I just want to beat everyone all the time.
Right.
That's Shaun.
Yeah.
Whereas I think there's other snowboarders that are a little bit more, they work well with that environment of progression, that we all progress.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
A rising tide.
Let's say maybe exactly, rising tide.
Yeah.
We all kind of work together, progress. So there was two different ways that you could, even just now, there's two different ways to go about it. There's
which one are you?
Ruthless.
Where do you lie on the spectrum?
I definitely admired the way that Shaun just I think, because sometimes you can get caught up in the industry, and then your priorities get changed, and you're not necessarily that focused on, let's say, winning a competition. It's more about like fitting in, because we live,
it's
like
really
action
like a clique.
sport. Yeah, action sport is very just generally, it's very cliquey. Not cliquey, but opinionated. Like people, you kind of make that decision. It's like, all right, do I want to kind of go out every night and drink, or should I actually take this seriously and try and win?
Yeah.
So I think Shaun was probably more in that other side, where he was just a little bit more of a ruthless competitor and didn't necessarily care about the other shit.
Right.
Did you ever like see a guy like at a bar and you're like, man, if he was like Shaun White, he would be?
Yeah. Honestly, 95% of the field.
Really?
Yeah. Everyone is so talented.
Yeah.
Every guy I compete against, and I don't compete against the girls, but the girls as well. Like if everyone had the same work ethic, say as Shaun, or even myself in this case, or kind of wanted it like that, it would be far more competitive. But a lot of them, for no reason, and it's fine too. Like I'm not sitting here saying that they should pull their finger out their ass. I'm just saying that snowboarding has a very relaxed nature, and it's accepted to just kind of go along with that energy. Whereas in any other sport, it's just like not even. It's either you have to be this competitive.
Like if Max Verstappen picked up a snowboard, like no one would have a chance. Like if you saw Max Verstappen like picking up, you'd be like, oh shit, oh god.
But I think trying to find a balance is challenging, and I would say I've been more on the side of like, fuck everyone, I'm gonna smoke everyone, and I don't care what anyone thinks. And I think it's really a really good trait, or a characterism to have. But then you also, and I'm trying to still be in touch with like the community, and because it is important, because I do value, I got a lot of inspiration, still have friends in the industry and everything.
Right.
And you don't want to alienate yourself. And like, I've even gotten to a point where in a very small way, you alienate yourself from the industry because you're just so focused on winning. And then it becomes a bit lonely.
Yeah. Sure.
So, lonely at the top. Yeah. Well, that's a question I have for you, because it's like when you do something that you love as a child, and then it becomes like your fucking career that you have to stress about, how do you like reclaim the joy?
How do you guys do it?
That's why the fuck you think I'm asking?
Well, we started this because we just like liked it. Now sometimes we're just like, God fucking damn it. But you know,
who's this fucking snowboard guy? What time? No, I honestly was so young. I don't think I ever really had to think about that. I was I've always wanted to do snowboarding competitively. So there was never a point where I was thinking to myself, oh, do I want to do this as a profession or not?
I know, but of course, when you're a kid, you're not as mature or aware. You don't actually, you see guys doing it on TV and you're like, or you play Tony Hawk's Pro Skater and you're like, I want to be like one of these guys. But then when you're actually doing it and you have to go on a podcast or do press or whatever the fuck, and then you're like, oh, this kind of sucks.
Yeah.
How do you reclaim the thing that you fell in love with in the first place? Or you think it's pretty easy?
I had a pretty big milestone moment with that when I was 15. I got the chance to go to my first Olympics in Vancouver, 2010. And I had experienced probably the first time where I really just hated snowboarding. Like I went from being the best or one of the best juniors to, being recognized by Australia as a potential to go to the Olympic Games. And then that obviously opened up this whole pool of, prospect of potentially going. I started to grow up, hit puberty, got taller, like all this stuff out of my control started to happen. And basically I just started to suck at snowboarding. I wasn't very good and I wasn't hitting expectations, and it was just this spiral. Like I just kept going. And that really sucked the whole fun out of it for me. Like I just didn't like it. I came home from an event and basically cried for hours to my mum, just being like, I can't do it anymore. And I was 14 or 15.
Damn.
I was pretty young. Yeah. And I felt like I was 65.
Yeah. You're like, I can't do it anymore.
You're like, I'm ready to hang it up.
But I think, I was also grade 9 at school, got this opportunity to go to the Olympics. Like there was so many cool things about it. But the bottom line was I just didn't like snowboarding anymore.
Yeah.
I really struggled to get out of bed. Like going to travel the world to do what I loved in the past tense was like a pulling teeth.
Yeah.
And that's really bad. Like at that age.
And was it just like that you weren't succeeding, or was it the pressure?
Because I wasn't succeeding, the pressure. I just felt like I was disappointing everyone every day. My family would never have been, they've loved me unconditionally, but naturally I felt like I was disappointing the family. My parents might have expected me to do better, and then the Australian team might have expected me to do better. Sponsors, like it's just this endless kind of basically people saying, like,
it's a lot of pressure to put on anybody, let alone a kid.
Yeah. And then I think as well at that age, you have or at least I had such an ego that I'm like, I'm not talking to anyone about it because I'm fine. I'm not fine. I was struggling a lot. So that was a really great time for me to learn like what my priorities were with my sport. And I ended up making the Olympics. So it was fine. But I really do now these days. I'm like, if I didn't make it, would I have kept going? I don't know. Because I was
if you didn't make the team?
Yeah, if I didn't make the team, I don't know if I would have kept snowboarding.
Interesting. Really?
So
did that experience of going there, did it kind of reignite something within you?
Yeah, it reignited me because all of a sudden, for the first time in 18 months, well, almost 2 years, I had affirmation, positive affirmation.
What's it like being in the Olympic Village? Is it? Because all you hear about the Olympic Village is that they, 10 million condoms.
Yeah, 10 million condoms, McDonald's, food, the whole thing, you name it.
Really?
Yeah, it's just a big. Vancouver, in particular, was pretty sick. Like, very special place. amazing host city. Russia was a little bit more challenging.
Right.
Korea was not bad. China was a bit challenging.
God, how many fucking Olympics have you been to?
I'm vintage.
Yeah.
And then we have Italy next, which should be sick. So I'm looking forward to
That's
that.
so sick.
Where, which part of Italy?
It's in Milan.
Milan.
So it'll be a couple hours out of Milan.
Oh, that's
But,
fucking sick.
But anyway, so I had kind of learned
Nice.
that young.
Yeah.
And then I think.
But you're already jaded. You're like, it's not like it doesn't hit like Korea.
You guys should have been in Vancouver.
You guys should have been in Vancouver. Yeah, exactly.
I think always just having a good grip of like why you started it, because I think sometimes you can, not even just you, but other people can have an agenda for like what they think you should do, and it's like, it's fine to have that if it's positive, but even if it's positive, it might not always be the right thing, and then you just kind of end up losing track of why you even started in the first place.
Right. But it's so crazy because I'm sure like the first time you were at the Olympics, you're like, I'm at the fucking Olympics. But now you're at, what number Olympics would it be for you?
4, next one would be 5.
Yeah.
At your 5th, how do you get to how do you not get jaded at your 5th Olympics? or you manage to be excited every time?
No, I am excited because it's cool. It's, it's something that happens every 4 years.
Right.
There's a bit more, you wear your team colors. It's
Right.
exciting. And I think for me as well, Australia, as you said, the guy from Jet said no one gives a shit about snowboarding.
And you're like, well, no one gives a shit about Jet.
Yeah, no one gives a shit about Jet anymore. Irrelevant. No, but the
He's gonna love that.
It's the one time that Australia tunes in. Honestly,
Right.
we have X Games and things like, which is our biggest event every year. But no one's talking about anything but the Olympics.
No, it's kind of, it's like Jamaican bobsled team a little bit, because it's like Australia, because it's like Australia, it's like the Australian champion snowboarder, and you're like, where the fuck did this guy snowboard?
Yeah, it's so true.
Yeah.
And it's wild now too, because I have an awesome team around me, but you have to, like, to just be a snowboarder is not, if you want to make a career, like a sustainable career, like, and either be in the industry or not, or do something, like, you have to go overtime all the time, because you can't just be great at snowboarding. And what I mean by that is like commercially. You can win every event under the sun, and you'll probably sign some good deals, but it's not it's not going to sustain you for the rest of your life.
Right.
Unless you win an Olympics. Olympics can have an effect on that. But you really have to kind of like look at it now as a clean canvas of like, okay, I snowboard, I'm talented snowboard, I love competition, but like, what else am I good at?
Yeah.
Wait, what do you mean? What more do you have to do? What more do you have to do?
Well, I just mean like social media is a big deal.
Oh,
you got to put time into that. You got to put time into, other areas, which is great.
Right.
You can control that.
What other areas are you doing? What are they? What do
you got your clothing line.
Yeah, well, I'm here on this shitty fucking podcast.
What do you got to plug? Yeah, start plugging some shit.
Yeah, plug it up.
Plug away.
I love this podcast.
We're about to hit 100K on Instagram, dude. We're not complete
big
slouches.
Nah, but I don't know, just general stuff. Like, we work on potential, series with Red Bull, for example.
Right.
Yeah.
Stuff that's we try and do a lot of relatable content, because not many people can relate to snowboarding.
Right.
Or even just hero content in general. Like, if you win an event, like, maybe 1% of people can really relate to that. Like, getting there.
Yeah.
Not to say like blowing smoke.
No, you're so fucking elite. It's like, what are you? You're like a god.
I just meant in the sense of like, not everyone's always competing. So it's like, fuck, I sound like a real wanker then. Didn't I?
No, because the thing is, it's like when I see a guy shoot free throws, I'm like, I can shoot free throws. But like when I see what you do, I'm like, what the fuck is
but okay, that's a good example. Is like, when an NBA player only posts about being an NBA player,
right,
you can't relate to that.
Yeah.
I can relate to you can shoot a hoop and everything, but I can't relate to being an NBA player.
Right.
So I'm like not that engaged in it.
Yeah.
Whereas if the NBA players start saying like, I listen to this and I do that and I like pink socks too, like you're probably going to be more engaged.
Right.
You're like, oh, like we have something in common.
Right. Yeah.
That's what I mean.
Well, it's story. You get invested in people. It's the whole reason
like
we
what
started.
Drive to Survive.
It's the whole reason we started this fucking pod. Is what Drive to Survive captured so well. Is the people behind
now I have
the
a
sport.
pitch to you.
I thought you were pointing at something.
Drive. What would Drive to Survive for snowboarding? How would that suck? Or how would we make that? Because we
want to do it for X Games.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it'd be a good one. I don't think it would suck. In fact, I think the characters in action sport is better than any sport.
Yeah.
Better than you think it would be better than Drive to Survive?
Character-wise, 100%.
But the way you push it, it's like, yeah, this guy would be good, but he just parties too much.
Well, that's interesting.
But I think on a day-to-day basis, like action sports athletes have very interesting lives.
Can you give us an example of a guy that you're like, oh my God, this guy would be the Daniel Ricciardo? Other than you,
obviously.
Who would be the Daniel Ricciardo of the X Games DTS?
Probably like Nigel Houston.
Okay, who's that?
Skateboarder.
Okay.
Not the same character, but he's a skater, he's a partier, he shows it. He's got a presence. But that's the cool thing about skateboard. Like, I don't know. I think there's so many.
Okay, but if this goes off the ground, we are Will Buxtoning it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's do it. I love it.
The thing about
Scotty James
he will do a competition.
Yeah. He will. When he's in the competition, he performs
He
in the
competes.
competition. He
He
competes.
competes.
Yeah.
He competes.
Yeah.
All right, man. Well, we'll let you go. I have one more question.
Okay.
We're talking about the wedding. Toto Wolff was at the wedding.
Correct.
What was he like on the dance floor?
He goes pretty hard.
Does he? Because we saw him post Abu Dhabi 2021, and I was like, holy shit, this guy fucking
And then
turns
he-
out.
Got some moves.
And then he got mad that it was like, it got leaked. I'm like, it got leaked that you were awesome?
This is
Like-
the coolest thing you've ever done, Toto.
That you were awesome.
Yeah, he was partying on the dance
Yeah, we
floor.
got some moves. Everyone was really moving and grooving.
What about
He's
Flavio
got some moves.
Briatore?
Didn't see him on the D floor.
Okay.
Stefano?
Stefano was on the D floor. I can't remember now.
Yeah.
But everyone was on the D floor. It was a good vibe. We just had a good energy there. So if you weren't on the D floor, it was like,
Right.
who's that?
Yeah.
Get your ass.
Yeah, you need to be out here.
Get your ass on here.
Totally.
But it's been fun being a little F1 spy for you guys.
It's
Yeah.
been.
I've never actually done, honestly, I've never done a podcast or just anything that's been very F1 specific.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you thought that this was F1 specific because we barely talked about the sport.
We talked. Yeah,
We talked about what it was like meeting Lance with your dick out. So
And me just saying how I'm just on another planet and people can't relate.
Yeah.
So I'm standing on top of podiums.
Yeah.
Being a dickhead, basically.
Well, thank you so much for coming on the pod. So we start the episodes with a Was up Vankas, which is an ode to Gunter
Bust up
Steiner.
Vankers.
We-
Okay.
yeah,
Because in the first episode, Drive to Survive, Gunter Steiner said, "What we look like rock stars, geez. Now we look like a bunch of Vankas."
yeah. So we say
So
goodbye, Vankas.
could you honor us with a goodbye Vankas?
Goodbye, Vankers.
Perfect.
Yes.
Goodbye,
Goodbye
Vankas.
Vankas.
Goodbye,
Scotty
Vankas.
James.